about it, and they're doing it as you're talking. Before they finish, they started already doing the thing. That's the Hayom im bekoli tishmau. HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, if you want Mashiach, you want Yeshua, Hayom, today. That mindset of I'm going to do it now. I'm going to do it now. Even if I'm not going to have time to finish it, but I'm going to start it now. We do this, as a model for Jewish thought. Whenever we finish a Masechta, we finish the Torah. You cannot pause, even with the Kaddish at the end, even though that by every Sefer Torah that you do the Chovat Hayom, you say Kaddish. When you finish Chatan Torah, there's nothing between Chatan Torah and Chatan Bereshit. Immediately you start. Oh, what's the big deal? Ma bo'er. What burns? It's just a proper thing. No. You got to start it immediately. That's a model of Jewish thought. That we don't leave things for later, push off and push back. And then, says the Mesillat, by the way, this is like a real psychological thing. You could start things by counting down verbally yourself. You want to do something, and sometimes say 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and you do it. And like as simple as this sounds like, this could really change the habit of a person pushing things back and pushing things off. So I'm going to do it. You do for your own countdown verbally. It's 5 and down, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and you start doing something, and it's something that you're used to countdowns, and it actually helps. But that's not all of it. We spoke about David HaMelech, that even though that it was a promise from HaKadosh Baruch Hu that Shlomo HaMelech is going to be the next king, it was a nevuah of Natan HaNavi, and he had sworn to it. And he swore to it that night again, that day when Natan HaNavi and Bathsheba came, when Adoniyahu was trying to take them, and David HaMelech said, take him to Gichon and do it right away. And B'rayahu says, Amen ken yomar Hashem. And Chazal asked, well, what do you have to say, Amen ken yomar Hashem? Because who knows how many stops are going to be on the way if you don't do it right away. If you don't immediately jump into action, most of those things are not going to be done. You have a thought that comes to your mind, a fleeting thought. If you don't really do it right away, if you don't write it somewhere, put it into action, so many thoughts that have not been actualized in a person's life. And you take it to the grave with you. So many companies not initiated, not built. So many Sfarim not written and not authored. So many books, so much that people took with themselves to graves. Because we have a thought, we have an initiation, and we just push it back. You know what happens when you push it back?
You don't do it.
You're not going to do it. Most probably not going to do it. Because the enthusiasm wears off. Unless you started something real. So that's the first part of Zrizut, alacrity, to be really on top of starting something. But then comes the real part. And people don't realize this. People think Zrizut is do it right away. No, even with mitzvah. But do it right away. That's what people think, right? Mm-hmm. Start. Gewaldig. That is true. Not to push off, not to procrastinate. That is very important.
Complete it.
But once you start, most people don't actually finish the job. Think to yourself of projects that regular people start. I always give an example of the Mesillat Yesharim itself. Go to any yeshiva, I guarantee you. You open the first part of the Hakdama, and you see the paper is disintegrating, like the corners are cut off already. It's like, it's used so well, if the page is even there. And then you go a little bit, Zahirut is nice, Zirizut. Get to Nekiut is very Naki, the page, Naki. They applied the Nekiut to the pages, right? You get to Tahara, Mamash Tahor. You get to Kedusha, it's so Kadosh, you can't even open it. It's already the crease of the thing is still there, no one has opened. Why? Because that's how it happens. That's how it happens. Wow. We start, we get excited, Yom Kippur comes and I'm going to do it. New Year's resolutions. Yeah. Right? The subscription to gyms go through the roof. By March 1st, 85% of them are out the window. You know that? March 2 months. People start and they don't finish. The consistency, the constant and consistent push is not there for most people. Look at Siyum Shas. Go watch the previous Siyum Shas. 100,000 people. It's awesome. And you know how many people decide that's it? I'm doing the daf. And they do the brachot, is geschmack. You get to Shabbat, the first few dapim are good, and gets to the little bumpy areas. It's a shake-off. Some people will fall. Gets to Eruvin, forget about it. Right? The amount of people who start projects and the amount of people who are there at the finish line are not even comparable. And that is the second part of Zrizut. Says the Mesillat Yesharim. Once you started it, you finish it quickly. Not because you're tired and you want to just throw it away. Not because of laziness. Not because it is hard for you to do the mitzvah. It's not a burden. It's not that you want to finish it quickly because you feel it's a burden, but because you're afraid. You're afraid that you're going to give in and cave in to the nature of people and not be able to finish it. Maybe I won't have the zchut of finishing this mitzvah. Maybe I'm not. It's not given that I could do it. Not given. Nobody knows what tomorrow brings with it. What onus is going to happen? What's going to come up? I have no idea. No one has. Nobody has. Again, look at Boaz. Boaz started the mitzvah when he promised Ruth. He said, I'm going to do this. She came. She said, you are my Yavam. And I'm here. And he said, correct, but there's somebody before me. And I'm going to do it. Now, let's think for a moment. He could have said, look, if I go and say, people are going to think that I want to marry this young woman. What are they going to say? One excuse. Right? He could have said, well, it's a whole question. If Moaviyah, yes, no, nah. It was a serious question. Even 3 generations later, Yishai separated from his wife because of that. Because he was afraid, maybe this whole limud of Moavi, because of maybe my lineage, which is what Peloni Almoni said, the other guy, right? He said, and you know how old he was? You think he was a vibrant, young guy? He was 100 years old. He's old. He probably had arthritis and, he couldn't walk and knee problems. He goes, I do it little by little, Comes home. Naomi says to Ruth, I know him. He said, if he said he's going to do it today. So she says, he's going to finish it today. Because that's the type of person he is. And that's exactly what happened. He goes, he gets everyone together, gets the Bedin Gadol together, he gets everyone there, he brings this guy, and he says, look, you're the closest family member. You get all the assets, tremendous assets, but it has downsides, also it's a risk. And the guy says, thanks, but no thanks. He was not Zariz to jump on an opportunity. You know what his name is remained? Peloni Almoni. Now, if you don't say that outside, nobody knows. Mr. Anonymous. Because if you don't jump on opportunities to finish something, you will remain anonymous in the thick book of history. And Boaz became the father of Mashiach. And he died the day after. There was no tomorrow. There was literally no tomorrow for him. Because if you wait, if you snooze, you may lose, really lose. And that's exactly what Zrizut is all about. That when once you started it, don't let it sit. It's not to feel great about the fact that I started the mitzvah. Chazak u'baruch is great. But how many of them you closed? How many of those projects you closed? Imagine to yourself a real estate agent that has 50 cases open. By the end of the year, so how many of them I closed? One. Chazak u'baruch. How many cases you could close is really the thing. How many mitzvot you finished? And now he's going to bring some fascinating and some mind-boggling chazals that are really spell out the importance of this clearly. Says the Gemara. Says the Ve'amru, the Bereshit Rabbah says, and this is also brought in Midrash Tanchuma, very similar to this. Kol ha'matchil b'mitzvah ve'eno gomer otah. Any person that starts the mitzvah and doesn't finish it, chas v'shalom, lo aleinu v'lo alechem, kover ishto banav, buries his wife and his children. Why is that? It's midah keneged midah. Because, your wife, your children are your completion. Like the Gemara says in Yivamot Samech Bet, a person that's not married is not called Adam, is not Shalem. Right. Zohar HaKadosh says you're a half a man. Okay. If you're not married, you're not complete. That's present time. And future is your children, are your continuity, your completion in the next generations to come. So if you start and you don't complete, Chas v'shalom, you won't be completed yourself in that way. Which is a tremendous thing. Is that how bad it is? Is it worse than not starting the mitzvah? Yeah, because it's an element of disrespect. If you really would respect the mitzvah.
But sometimes people, we want to do the mitzvah. They like you said, they're passionate to do the mitzvah, but unfortunately, maybe a percentage, a lot of higher percentage doesn't doing the mitzvah. So what is better, not to grab the mitzvah? Or
no, it's the best is to grab it and do it. Now, if a person is anus, sometimes you have anus rachamana patre. But we're talking about, of course, a case that he was not forced. He just, what happens to people? You start something, and when you don't really go after it, little by little, it just stops. You start the project, and little by little it becomes hard. It's not that you couldn't do it, you could have done it. That's the majority of people. It's not that some honest comes, fine. Hashem is not a dictator, and he's not cruel. He understands the situations in the person's life, but at the same time, we all could agree that the majority of cases that people let go of projects and successful things that they do is not that. Majority of the time is, Now, Chazal say, by the way, how do we know this? The Midrash there learns it from Yehuda. In both places, the Midrashim, because Yehuda started the mitzvah of saving Yosef. Midrash says they sat to eat when they, got rid of Yosef basically, and it says, "Ma betza ki na'arog et achinu." Well, what benefit does it have? Why are we killing him for what? And because even though that they were going to go to kill him, certainly Shimon and Levi, and that was the decision. That was the haskama of the brothers to kill him because he's a rodef. And they listened to him. And the Midrash says, had he said to them, because he was the melech of the Shvatim, had he said, you know what? We gave him a second chance. This time, just let him go. Now he got the point. Now he knows that this stuff is serious. Let him go. They will have listened. But he didn't. He started the mitzvah, he didn't finish it. And what's exactly afterwards? Immediately after they bring the clothing of Yosef dipped in blood to Yaakov, the Torah pauses the whole story And he says the story of Yehuda's wife passing and his children passing, right? So the Midrash uses the juxtaposition of these two parashas. Says this happened in part because of that. And of course, the Midrash says also, Kol hamatchil b'mitzvah omrim lo gemor. When you start a mitzvah, you have to finish it, right? You start a mitzvah, you have to finish it. And the mitzvah that's finished by somebody else is called on the name of the person that finished it. How do we know? From Moshe Rabbeinu. Moshe Rabbeinu started the mitzvah of bringing Atzmot Yosef Adav Mitzrayim, right? Ki Ashbea Ishbea et Bnei Yisrael. So he took it, and everyone else was busy with Bizat Hayam, Bizat Mitzrayim. Rather, he took the Atzmot Yosef out. But what happens? Moshe Rabbeinu didn't take it in. And says the Pasuk, the Atzmot Yosef that Bnei Yisrael took out of Mitzrayim. They didn't, Moshe did. But they finished the mitzvah. So it's called on their name. Again, because this element of zrizut is a real thing. It's not just, it's a nice thing to finish it. No. It is so essential to the essence of a yid. Because the difference between people who actually do things and people who don't is this element of when you start, you're excited, you decide to do something. Do you start it? Do you finish it? That is the difference. Everyone gets inspired. Most people don't do anything with inspiration. Every Yom Kippur is the same list of things you have to work on as the last and the previous. But then you have those people who are actually working as a business. They write things, they have to check them off, and they're finishing, closing circles, and actually going forward every day. It's not like, one step forward, two step back, two step forward, one step back. It's not like that. That you kind of like staying in the same area. You olim ve'yordim bo. If you're not going up, you're going down. And the way to go up is by zrizut. You have to have action. And he says, from Shlomo Melech, and this pasuk is darshan on Shlomo Melech himself. And Moshe Rabbeinu, actually, this week's parashiyot. Shlomo Melech says in Mishlei, Chavbet, Chazita ish mahir b'mlachto. You see someone that's fast in their tracks. They do things quickly. Guaranteed lifnei melachim mityasav. You want to guarantee from the wisest man alive, from Tanakh, of how to. So people look for segulot of hatzlacha, like this segula, that segula, right? I'm segula. That's why we love segulas, right? It says the only thing that guarantees your success, ra'ita chazita ish mahir b'mlachto, guaranteed lifnei melachim mityasav. If you see somebody that is really on top of his game, he will stand in front of the highest of high. He will be successful. And Chazal dash in this pasuk on Shlomo Melech himself, because Shlomo Melech, even though that he was only 12 years old, he was not even bar mitzvah yet, when he took the reign from David HaMelech after he passed on. He built the Beit HaMikdash in very short amount of time. 4 years. Imagine, this is before machinery, before anything. And you've seen the stones, you've seen the massive structure. And what he built was 100 times more beautiful than what anything you could imagine, with all the gold-plated and silver-plated and awesome things that he had over there in the binyan of Shlomo Melech. And he did it like this, quick. He lived only 52 years. He was a king, but what he accomplished was a few lifetimes worth of accomplishments. Because he was ish mahir b'mlachto. He managed doing that, by the way, with having 17 years worth of Shabbat brachot. Right? Do the math. If you do the math, you had 21 years. If you have Pilakshim, you have only if you have only one day, whatever it is. So then you add it up, is about 21 years subtotal of Shabbat brachot. So that's like half the time. But he managed to do that. You need a little humor, but you managed to do so much in such a short, because ra'ita chazita ish mahir b'mlachto. They said about Moshe Rabbeinu also. We're now studying the parashiyot of the Mishkan, and that's what Chazal say about Moshe Rabbeinu. He started you finish it right away. Again, the ones who snoozed, the Nesi'im, who said, we'll bring at the end whatever is going to be left. What was left? Nothing. They're bereft of the whole thing. Because if you push back, you never know if you're going to get anything. Right? And that's the element of success. Shlomo Melech says, you want guaranteed success? Ish mahir b'mlachto. And mahir b'mlachto doesn't mean just you starting it. It means the melacha itself is done with alacrity. It's done with efficiency. It's done with zrizut. Says Ramchal, V'chen timtza kol ma'asem shel tzadikim. Now it's going to go a journey quickly through Tanakh. All the tzadikim you see, their jobs are fast. Avraham katuv bo, v'maher Avraham ha'ohela el Sarah. He doesn't say the whole thing even. This is the third day after he got the Brit Milah. Have you ever seen an adult with a Brit Milah? The oldest person I did the Brit Milah on was 75 years old. As a Russian man, his brother was a very active part of the communist movement. He didn't let the parents give him a Brit Milah. His name was Barak. Had a great, very, very good personality. Yeah, he's sitting there. And you're talking about like 20 stitches and a whole syringe, a large syringe of anesthesia. You couldn't feel anything. But the days after, you know how painful that is. And that's with stitches and with painkillers and everything that comes with it. Imagine a 100-year-old, a 99-year-old without anesthesia, without stitches, without painkillers. And he's sitting there in the heat of the day. You know how many excuses he would have had if he wanted to? But he sees them, and he is in a meeting with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. He puts him on pause. He says, Hashem, hold on, please. Right? I have something more important to take care of. And he runs. He runs. He runs to them. And when they agree to come, he runs again. Vela bakar ratz Avraham. You know how rich he was? He's the most well-known billionaire of the time. He could have had all of these done by other people. He had servants. He had sons. He had thousands of staff. No. Vela bakar ratz Avraham. Do it yourself. Harav Shlomo Kamenetsky, should live and be well. We were neighbors with his daughter and great son-in-law. I lived upstairs from them, and whenever he would come to visit, we would have the opportunity to meet with him, to schmooze with him. Very special. And he would not let people open the door for him. So I could do it myself. So he has a very fun personality, yes. He's like, could do it myself. I need to do it for me. It's a mindset. With his advanced age, he still, when we were there, he still had a bouncing step. Still had a bouncing step. Harav ben David, when he was in the last years of his life, when he visited here, when he was walking, he had more of a bouncing step than a 20-year-old. Because that's a person that's mahir b'mlachto. For those who had this of being close with him, you know that this is true. I was chavrut with his grandson, and it's like, we finish Shas and many other things, Zohar, other things, every year. Sitting, covering. He was tired, he was this, that, and yet he was running more organizations that he could keep track of. He was once in a place that they told him it's the 5th, 7th year anniversary of this that you started. I was like, what? He had started something, initiated it, did the initial fundraising for them, appointed people, and he forgot about it. He started when under the communist Russia, he had 10 kollels in Russia. Not 10 kollel guys. 10 actual kollels. Tremendous accomplishments. Because mahir b'mlachto. Lifnei melachim mityasav. And he goes, "Vaymaher Avraham el ha'oher Sarah, Ma'ari, right away do it," he tells Sarah. Right away. Vayter hanar, vaymaher la'asod oto. The whole thing is done with alacrity. Even when he is commanded to shecht his son. What does the pasuk say? Vashkem Avraham baboker. Gets up early, crack of dawn, before anyone else. He saddled his whole donkey himself. Because that's what it is. If this is what I'm doing today, regardless of the feelings involved, this is what I'm doing, and I'm going to do it the best way. It's way over our heads. But just to think about it, it is so powerful. And the Midrash says, by Manoach and his wife, the mother and father of Shimshon, she ran, and she was the main figure in the house. Chazal say. She ran. All of, it's the same with Rivka, I skipped, right? But by Miriam, it says Nahara, right? And it says written like a Nar, because it was, Chazal say, it was like a youthfulness. There was a youthfulness there, with passion, with energy, with fire, with electricity. And you can't talk too much about this. This is so important. We all know there are some people, when you're next to them, you feel an energy. Because they exude that. They're full of life. And it's not fake, it's real. They're doing things. They're busy, they have no time for wasting. Because they're constantly accomplishing, they're constantly doing things. And it's contagious. When you're next to them, you feel it. Says the Yesharim, that they don't kill time to start or to complete the mitzvah. You have an opportunity, you jump on it. And once you jump on it, you finish it up right away. Now, let's pay attention. A person that really loves Avodat Hashem, really wants to do service of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, for sure, he's not going to be lazy in doing the mitzvot. If you really love somebody, like look at people who are engaged, right? They are full of energy. They could go to the moon and back. Because there is newness, there is passion. And like the Yeshiva of Cleveland, Amorcha Gifter writes, says the reason that Shlomo Melech wrote Shir HaShirim the way we perceive it, which is very uncomfortable, because I want it to be Gonez Sefer Shir HaShirim, because it's a description of a vivid description of a human love, and it will be misunderstood until Rabbi Akiva came and said, no, Kol HaShirim Kodesh, Shir HaShirim Kodesh Kodashim. It's the relation. It's all metaphor of our relationship with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the love. So he asked the obvious question. So what? If you take a look at the art scroll, Shir HaShirim, there's no translation of the psukim. It's all like the metaphoric things that Rashi says. All translations based on that. So what? Shlomo Melech was not as wise as the editorial board of Art Scroll. He couldn't write it like that. Why did he write it like this? So much so that they wanted to do Gnizan, Shir HaShirim. So what? So he writes, says, because you have to understand how you're supposed to feel about HaKadosh Baruch Hu from something that HaKadosh Baruch Hu has put in the nature in order for us to be able to examine our relationship with Hashem. Something tangible that you could relate to. And from that you could learn. If you really love HaKadosh Baruch Hu, there are ways to do everything. You will figure it out. You'll figure out how to do it. And says the Mesillat your movements will be like fire, quick, fast. You would not sit and you would not rest until you will finish it. until you finish it. And that's a lover. When somebody genuinely loves something, when there is a will, there is a way. When there is no will, there is a reason why you're not going to do it, or 1,000 reasons. You find a way when you really want to do something. When you don't, you'll find 1,000 reasons why you should not be doing it. It's asur to do it, and it's a bad idea, and it's not healthy, and it's going to be, you're going to go bankrupt, and your mother-in-law is going to scream at you, and your wife is going to be mad, and your child is going to get sick, and yourself you're going to get sick, and the list goes on. We are so creative. But the inner reason is because you really don't want to do it. If you really want to do something and you love HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you will be doing that so good that you can't even believe it yourself. Imagine if right now something would be something that is worth, let's put numbers on it, $10,000, they're selling it for $1,000. And it's in downtown LA. And you announce it right now. What's going to happen?
Jump.
You will have tens of thousands of people climbing on each other's heads, like literally running there. That's what's going to happen. Why? Because if you value something, you value that. You say this is $9,000 below the price. It's 10%. It's 90% off. I want it. But if a person realizes Yekarai mi peninim, the Torah, the Avodat Hashem is the greatest value in the world. There's nothing like it. There's nothing like it. If a person thinks of it like that, so then you have opportunity to do it, you'll do it like a mensch. It's not just to do it, it's to do it efficiently. We all do mitzvot, right? We're not talking about non-frum people. We all get up in the morning and we put on tefillin and we daven and we say Shema. There you have so many mitzvot d'oraita right there. Right? You're wearing tzitzit, mitzvot d'oraita. You, at least the mitzvah kiyumit d'oraita. You wear tefillin, mitzvah d'oraita. Every second, right? You're davening according to Rambam, mitzvah d'oraita. Well, the first one. You're saying Shema, mitzvah d'oraita. And we're doing all of that. But many times, so how's your day? You don't feel like I just spoke to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Because we go through it, we go through the motions, but it doesn't go through us. Because again, the passion, it's not like, I got to daven. We don't feel like that. I got to put on tefillin. Like people who didn't have tefillin. I learned with somebody when I stayed in Austria. A very, very special person, a massive Talmid Chacham, tremendous Mekubal. And his father spent some time in Auschwitz before he ran away. And he had smuggled in a pair of small tefillin. So he was the only one that had a tefillin. Said every day, close to 200 people, early morning, that they come out of their barricades and come there, crawling. If you would be seen outside hours on the scene of the campus, you'd be shot dead. No questions asked. On the spot. And people will risk their lives, dodging the guards, crawling on the floor, cutting from their sleep, some of them about 2 hours of their sleep, to come there and put on tefillin. For how long? He said they would put it on with a long line. They would put it here, not even the 7 wraps, because there's no time. Tighten it here, you go, put it on, Shema Yisrael Hashem Hashem Echad, Baruch Shem Kavod, open the next guy. And he tells me, he said, my father would tell me every year, he said, I wish, before I die, I should feel the joy of putting on tefillin one more time like that in my life. Like I had every morning, putting it for a few seconds. Because when it's difficult, Chasura mechsara v'achi katani. When it's chaser, everything is not there. Then you really appreciate the things that you have. But we do it every day. We have the opportunity of keeping Shabbat and learning Torah and keeping Sidarim and having Chavrutas and davening, like I mentioned, b'minyan. The many people who don't have a minyan to daven with. Speaking to a Chabad shaliach somewhere in the middle of nowhere, the guy doesn't daven with minyan, doesn't have a minyan. He's there, b'mesirut nefesh, working for whatever kila that he's serving, whatever thing that he's serving. I'm not saying right, wrong, forget about that. They feel that there's a shlichut and it's there, and it's beautiful to watch the mesirut nefesh. I was like, I would get down if I would miss one minyan. This guy is sitting there, we don't appreciate it. And all of that is included in this. When you love HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you grab the opportunity and you appreciate it. Appreciate this is chut I have. I could come to shul. And you'll show it with that. Okay. If a person is showing up 5 minutes late to Shacharit, is that, forget about the fact, I always say that that's like a lack of derech eretz for HaKadosh Baruch Hu. It's not derech eretz. Have a little derech eretz. You don't go late to a meeting. This is your meeting with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. You should not be late. You should come 5 minutes early, 10 minutes early. But it's not only that, it's the feeling of, I have the zchut of doing this, so I'm going to do it like a mensch. You have a seder, you have a chavruta. Don't be late to the seder. The zrizut is not just, it's the daily things that we do, stuff that we do every day. And you do it properly. Like you come in, some people come in and start schmoozing. Come in, you start learning. There'll be a designated time for schmoozing if you want to. But that's part of the zrizut. That you hit the ground right away. Somebody asked the Chafetz Chaim, what's the secret of success in yeshiva? I said, the secret is, once you get to the Beit Midrash, find the first chair, let's sit down and learn. And you have other people come and to check the balance of the seat, the cushion has to be such, table should not move, and then choice of Gemara, which Gemara is the best Gemara, was Vadar, you should have the Ha'arot. By the time you do this, the other guy learned 5 block Gemara already. And imagine the course of a year, in the course of a lifetime. Talk about Zrizut. Again, Chafetz Chaim lived like this. He was a Kohen. Well, he didn't really do Nisiyat Kapayim, that was not the minhag. But regardless of that, for regular shoes, he always bought slip-on shoes. Someone asked him, he had made a cheshbon of how much time it takes, and he multiplied that time to an expectancy of life. I said, it's so many days or whatever it is of time that I could use. Now, that's mind-boggling for us, because we don't think of life like that. But it gives you a perspective of what Zrizut is. You grab every opportunity. It's famous, the Khatam Sofer. They asked him, how did you become the Khatam Sofer? He said, in 5 minutes. It's 5 minutes? What do you mean 5 minutes? He said, my friends wasted a lot of 5 minutes here, 2 minutes there, 1 minute here. I grabbed those minutes.
Wow.
Saba Novardok, the altar of Novardok, or Kelm, the altar of Kelm, he instituted a seder in yeshiva that was lechatchila designed for 5 minutes. Right? The gabbai would give a clap, they would start. 5 minutes later, exactly, give a clap, they would stop. Why? He had 2 reasons for it. A, he wanted people to know that every 5 minutes matters. Hare, one seder of the yeshiva is 5 minutes. But more so, he wanted to show them how much you could accomplish in 5 minutes. Because you know what happens when you have a consistent 5 minute seder? After a few months, you finish a sefer, you start another one. You look back after 2 years, you've done 5 Sfarim. They only did in those 5 minutes. And when a person sometimes comes from a different hashkafa of life, from outside look, appreciates that more. I remember 20 plus years ago, Uri Zohar, the famous Mekarev, Harav Shlomo, that recently passed away, he was in town, I went to see him. It's the only time that I met him. And he said to me, first he said how he became even a Baal Tshuva from being like a comedy star of cinema in Eretz Yisrael. But then he shows, he says, look, I have a Chumash Rashi here. I have a Mishnayot here. I had like 4 of them in the 2 pockets here. He said, I have Sidarim in between my minutes of the day. I learn these things. I don't stop carry them on me. I pocket Sfarim on him. So I do it here, there. Grabbing. Yeah. It's a mindset. It's a mindset of a, my Rashi was a tzal. Reb Klasky, when he was much younger, one of the Rashi Yeshivot, he had a sefer that was open when his wife did not drive. So he would drive her to do things. And it was one of the biggest matmidim of the yeshiva. It was an American, born and raised gadol. He went to army, even and he had a sefer, and it was open there by the dashboard, and the red light. It's learning. We'll go to 7 Mile Market. His wife would go shopping. Take your time. The Gemara there in the car. He was learning. Things did not stop him. Normal life activities was what happened in between this line of Gemara and that line of Gemara for him. And he would go back to where he was. Like the Ram writes in Chotam Mutara, Yachzor lelimudo. So you take care of whatever it is that you have to take care of, and you come back to your learning. Because Avodat Hashem is the ikar of what I do. And cherishing that opportunity, it's all part of the reason you're grabbing it. I have an opportunity, I'm doing it. Now this is much easier and it's much harder. It's much easier because there's so much available. You have like millions of hours, and that's not an exaggeration, millions of hours of Torah online. You could print anything you want and take it anywhere you want. You could have partners in Torah, phone calls, There's no method of learning that's not available. Now you have Zoom and you have this. At the same time, we have much more distractions. So the avodah is to grab the opportunities and not give in to the distractions. That's really the avodah. And says the Mesillat Yesharim, we can finish this little bit. ואומנם התבונן עוד כמו שהזהירות הוא תולדת ההתלהטות הפנימי, just like zirizut is the outcome of an inner fire that is pouring out from within a person that's excited, and you could see the outcome of that excitement in his actions. When a person is focused, is goal-oriented, is zariz, you see them walk differently, you see them moved, and the passion just pours over every aspect of your life. Sometimes you don't feel it like that, but you do it. Like the Gemara says in Masachet Brachot of Zayin, mitzvah to run to a thing. Sometimes you feel it, sometimes you don't, but you run. Because the running gives you a mindset of excitement. Chitzoniot me'orer et ha'pnimiyot. The outside action actually ignites the inside passion. Says the Mesillat Yesharim, v'hainu ki mi shemargish atzmo b'maaseh mitzvah. If you feel the maaseh mitzvah koshu memaher tenuato achitzona, just like you are doing the outside action, the emotions that you have is quick with zirizut, It turns on and ignites your inner passion as well. And you're gonna love it.
Wow.
If you run to do something, that is ought to turn on something inside a person as well. And that's gold, because sometimes is le David mizmor, sometimes it's mizmor le David. Mara says, how does it work? So sometimes he would wake up in Chatzot Halayla, he was excited, he was passionate, and he would start it because, and sometimes he wasn't, and he would start it, and then he would come. So it's really, what he's saying right now is priceless, because the argument with all of this that we just learned is, I don't feel it sometimes. So what if I don't feel it? I don't feel gifted and privileged. And the answer is, it is in your control. You fake it. You do the actions that a person that's excited will do, and you will get the feeling in the long run. It will come.
Going to the gym. Same idea.
Again,
Give us example.
There's so many of this. Again, the running is one basic example. When you show excitement for it, when you talk about it, you say, I had a great day because I got to do this. You just created an energy for yourself that affects you without you even knowing. Versus saying, it's a mindset of a person when you run to shul, when you're excited for it, when you wear a big smile, you come in, it's geschmack. It is sweet. When you say it like that, when you act it like that, it will become sweet. Because we are creatures of our mind and mindset. So when you put something in motion, it may take time, but it will drip in, penetrate. It becomes a part of a person's second nature. So it says the Mesillat Yesharim, you have to finish up here. He becomes stronger and stronger. And all of it is moved by what you started doing from outside without feeling a thing inside. But if a person goes, he goes kacha, as if he's depressed. But tenuat evarav, he's going slow, inching his way through life. Even if he had the passion, it's going to die out. It's going to turn off. This is something that you test it and you know it is true. It's pashut. Everyone that has done it knows it. What Hashem wants is Rahman Ali Baba. Hashem wants your passion. That is something so important that in some ways is more important than the doing of the mitzvot itself. David HaMelech mithalel bechelko hatov v'omer ka'ayal ta'arog al afike mayim, one of the most beautiful psukim. Like an ayal, a thirsty deer that is he is desiring the afikem, the fresh water. Ken nafshi ta'arog elecha elokim. My nefesh, my soul screams out to you, Hashem. I desire it. I want it. I need it. Sam'a nafshi le'elokim lekel chai. I'm thirsty for HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Like a person that's thirsty for water, for a life source. Matai avo ve'era'eh penei Elokim. When can I come and see penei Elokim? Right? And David HaMelech said this even on his own account of his own life. Not time for it right now. It says, Nichsfa v'gam kalta nafshi lachzorot Hashem. My soul is finishing, is burning for chatzrot Hashem. Sam alecha nafshi. My nefesh is thirsty for you, Hashem. Kama alecha besari. My flesh is finishing to come see you. Right? This is tremendous. It says in Mesillat Yesharim, Adam asher en chemda hazot lohetet karaui. A person that doesn't have this desire burning through him. Etzah tova hilo. The good etzah for him is she's darez birtzono. He should decide that I'm doing it. I'm going to start it from the outside, and all the wheels are connected. So if you turn this one, it turns this. If you turn this one, it turns that. So I'm going to start the engine from outside instead of from inside. Used to be the previous, I'm not sure if the cars still work the same way. Used to be when the engine start did not work, you get a bunch of guys to push it, and then it would start. Because this turns that and that turns this. It's all connected. And this is the same thing. Etzah tova ilo, sheyizdarez birtzono, k'dei sheyiמשך מזה שתיוולד בו החמדה בטבע. That will create the desire inside of you. כי התנועה החיצונה מעוררת את הפנימית. Because the outside action ignites the inside passion. ובוודאי שיותר מסורה בידו היא. And what's more in your control? The outside. The inside sometimes is there. But David HaMelech didn't always have it, the Gemara says. But you know what happened when he didn't have it? Those times he didn't have it? He didn't say, verses I need, it's so hard to be a Jew. No! He started it himself. He did it. He just started it from outside. מסורה בידו היא החיצונה הפנימית, אך אם ישתמש ממה שבידו, what is in your control, if you use it, יקנה גם מה שאינו בידו. You will gain that which is out of your control also. כי תיוולד בו השמחה, you will generate the שמחה, the happiness, the inner happiness, והחפץ and the desire and the passion, מכוח מה שהוא מתלהט בתנועתו ברצון, from the power of the extension of that power that you have from moving your chitzoniot, of running to do something and showing the passion for it. And this is what Hosea says, I will run to know HaKadosh Baruch Hu. You go after Hashem like a roaring lion. And I say that that's why the first saif in Shulchan Aruch starts with Yitkaber ka'ari la'amod baboker. You get up like a lion. You get up like a lion. The way you get up governs your day. Of course, if you go to sleep like a horse, you can't get up like a lion. You have to go to sleep on time. You have to do everything it takes to prepare yourself. But you get up like literally like a lion. It does not mean you should roar and wake up everybody, but it means you get up quick and with passion. It is talking about a physical action of alacrity, because that is going to govern your whole day. It changes a person's life. You get up, you make that bed of yours, and you're ready to roll. And that's the first rule in the rules of life. When a person starts their day, governs their day with zrizut, it literally changes and affects every aspect of the details of a person's day and life. And B'ezrat Hashem, we will discuss how to gain zrizut in the next shiur.